Some of you may recall that I made a series of videos on Carter's doomsday argument a while back. Just to briefly familiarise you all with this argument once again, it argues that we can attribute probabilities to different numbers of human animals being born in the future, based purely on how many human animals have already been born so far in human history. I readily concede that this argument may sound faintly ridiculous at first blush, but this argument is still to be successfully refuted, and the objections that people often immediately raise when first hearing this argument are not half as strong as the detractors of the doomsday argument may imagine them to be. Upon discussing this argument with Zombie Picture Show yesterday, he said, and I quote, "So the assumption is true that maybe a little more than 60 billion humans will be born." Not the most beautifully constructed piece of prose Zombie has ever written, but I think it is clear that he recognised that the doomsday argument is a strong argument that needs to be taken seriously by those who wish to theorise about the future fate of our species. Indeed, he describes the maths behind the doomsday argument as classy. The reason why he cited a little more than 60 billion more human births between now and the extinction of our species is because approximately 100 billion human births have already occurred. Therefore, using the Copernican principle, we should not assume that there is anything particularly unusual about our birth order position in the human race. That is, we should neither expect ourselves to be amongst the very first members of our species, and neither should we expect to find ourselves amongst the very last. So let's say our birth order position now is precisely in the middle of all those who will ever live. If that truly is the case, then approximately 100 billion more human animals will be born between now and the extinction of our species. If we stable the world population at its current 7 billion and assume a stable 30 years between each generation, then human extinction will occur in roughly 400 years' time. That would be around 2400 AD, which is in the middle band of my prediction that our species is likely to go extinct, that is, within the next 300 to 500 years. Given the remarkable progress that has and is currently being made in genetic engineering, this should not at all be judged to be a ludicrous prediction. It is clearly only a matter of time before wealthy parents in technologically advanced nations start selecting attributes that they wish their children to possess. At first there will be tremendous resistance to these new developments in our species, especially amongst those who still adhere to one of the ridiculous religions that are still being practiced in our insane world. However, the fact of the matter is that money talks, and the temptation to play God, as well as the obvious advantages of being able to pre-order traits for your future children as if you are ordering a particular product from Amazon online, will simply be too tempting to resist for many. At first, parents will only be able to specify simple basic traits that their children will have, such as gender, hair and eye colour, height and build, etc. However, as our understanding of genetics continues to rapidly increase in the future, it will be possible to make increasingly more sophisticated choices about what kind of child we wish to be the parent of. Traits such as language learning ability, temperament, competitiveness, and extroversion levels will eventually also enter into the decision-making process parents will be able to make concerning the kind of child they wish to bring into the world. It needs to be stressed that the commercial availability of genetic engineering of human babies, or even if it only occurs initially in a black market, is completely unknown territory, but the consequences of this new development in our species can only be dramatic and come with far-reaching ramifications that we can only begin to tentatively speculate about with any kind of precision. However, I would argue that what we are likely to see in the future as a result of this future development is an abuse of our newfound capabilities to play God. Governments will be able to genetically engineer soldiers with stunted or entirely absent empathy, making them utterly ruthless killing machines. Certain segments of the genetically engineered population may become vastly more intelligent, knowledgeable, and capable than run-of-the-mill non-genetically engineered human animals. In time, such a gulf between the two may open up that the genetically engineered humans may regard standard human animals as pitiful, wretched animals that need to be exterminated so that they can have free reign of the world. With their superior intelligence, they will be able to modify their bodies and minds with the use of technologies that non-genetically engineered human animals are incapable of developing. Perhaps they will begin to insert microchips directly into their brains in order to enhance their mental processing capabilities and speeds, even further, thus starting off an intelligence arms race between different factions of genetically engineered human animals. In fact, by this point it may start to become blurry whether they are still human or indeed even animal at all. Eventually, human animals will simply no longer exist in any kind of meaningful sense at all, brutally killed off or displaced by their very own monstrous creations of part genetically engineered human, part cyborg, part DNA knows what. Also, by this time, speciation may have occurred amongst different groups of what once used to be human animals, and in-group out-group war will inevitably occur as they fight wars over different ideologies and philosophical stances employing nanotechnology, AI and mechanically engineered viruses. Many of the sentient beings that used to be human will become thoroughly disenchanted with what our great species, sarcasm intended, has metamorphized into, and will deem it expedient to destroy the planet of all life, including themselves, in order to end the malignantly useless phenomenon of conscious experience that has plagued this deeply troubled world for 500 million years. The year 2400 AD.